What's good, guys? Welcome to another episode of my YouTube channel, and Happy New Year, by the way. I would like to speak about the current situation between Venezuela and the US. Just remember that the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, he just got arrested, and he is at this moment in a five-star hotel in the United States in an all-inclusive. Let's speak about this, and I'm going to give my humble opinion about what a lot of people on social media are predicting, or about some that they said that that's how it's going to happen. Let's speak about this. There is a lot of dramas in countries like Venezuela and Colombia too. Venezuela already got the worst parts because the president, the dictator Nicolas Maduro, he's already arrested and he's in a jail in the United States, and he's waiting for his sentence that I hope is gonna be a long time on prison. I don't wish nothing bad on people, but this guy has made suffer a lot of people. But long story short, with this craziness that's been happening in Venezuela, there is a lot of people who feel happy about what's next for Venezuela, and I'm happy too. Venezuela used to be a very successful country, and I hope they can recover, and I hope the economy that was pretty successful before, like I mentioned, can get back into the game. Now the United States is gonna run the country, and let's see how that's gonna work. But at the end of the day, there is a lot of concern in a lot of males, a lot of guys who travel to Colombia to have fun with the girls. Listen, I know that kind of tour. I know that kind of like YouTuber in process, and tour guy also that promote like the other service, with the girls and stuff like that. But that is a reality that nobody can hide on from Colombia, and that is very popular. That a lot of brothers, from the United States, from Europe, and from all the countries in Latin America, they come to Colombia to hang out with the girls because we have so many beautiful women in town. We have a lot of Colombian women, of course, because the country is Colombia, and we also have a higher number of beautiful Venezuelan women. I've been receiving a lot of messages like, "Hey, Carlos, what's gonna happen with the girls?" All of that. Listen, fellas, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if they will leave or if they will escape. But I've been talking with a lot of Venezuelan friends that live in town, and they've been telling me that they are not moving from Colombia. That's no guarantee that your baby mama who is in Venezuela, that the girl that you're dating, that the girls that you're hanging out with, if she belongs to Venezuela, if she's from there, it doesn't guarantee that she's gonna say or she's gonna go. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, what I do know is like a lot of, not all of them, but it's gonna be a high number of this woman that they're gonna go back to their country, because that's a reality. A lot of these women, they've been forced, to go to that way to make some money. It doesn't mean like some people are forcing them. Well, in some of the cases, yes, some people are forcing them, but in majority of the case, they've been forced because of the beauty, like doesn't allow them to work in these jobs in Colombia that they barely will pay them a little bit of money. You know what I mean? Now the minimum salary increase in Colombia to $500, but it doesn't guarantee that with the level of beauty that these women have, they think they feel, and they've been claiming, for a good lifestyle. You know what I mean? But the drama is really bad because now Colombia is getting involved too. The president Donald Trump, he's been saying for a while that the Colombian president had to take care of his ass, all of that, had to watch out his ass or something, his back. I don't know how this is gonna end, fellas, but what I do know is like this is horrible, for what these countries are going through, because there's a lot of violence. At the end of the day, I think and I felt that U.S. is doing a small favor to Venezuela, but I mean, it's for the oil, but they're doing a small favor to Venezuela, to take out this dictator from the game. And still, there is a lot of people in the power that work with Nicolas Maduro, and I hope they can work out with the United States, but that's it. You know what I mean? I don't have like this escalated that my country, which is the sister country of Venezuela, get involved into that. You know what I mean? But I also want to take my time to explain, like how Venezuela is and how the culture is. how the people are, because I'm not trying to like describe how Venezuelans are, because that's like describing a Colombian and Venezuelans. We have so many things in common, and people they have not realized that we are sister countries, but it's kind of, listen to me, it's kind of like the same country but isn't. But we have a lot of things in common. I had so many people, I had so many families who are Venezuelans. They live in the country, but they from Colombian descendants. I have plenty of them. My grandma used to live in Venezuela. Thank God she built 3 houses thanks to Venezuela, and I think she's ready to go back, because she told me once Venezuela gets better, I'm gonna be back to Venezuela. I was like, okay, you lived there for almost 30 years, so you should know like how that is over there. You know what I mean? So long story short, Venezuela ain't nothing like Colombia. Like this brother who are predicting already that Venezuela will be the next Colombia, that Venezuela will be the next game for Paso Bros, that Venezuela will be a auto service open sky. Let me tell you, and like that, a lot of women who dedicated to do that profession, that job in Colombia, they will never do it back at home, because they do know that back at home these people will recognize them. That's the same reason why a lot of these girls in the cloud tower at your spot, they don't like to be recorded, because they don't want the people back at home to know what they're doing in countries like Colombia. And this is the case from other countries. They don't want to be recorded, because they don't want their families know that that's what they're doing, over there. Which just means I'm not saying like, not all of them, but a big majority, they will never do the job back at home. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it won't be like they won't have like auto service over there. But before, this Venezuelan woman were so spoiled, the husband, the man was making a lot of money that they didn't have to work. You know what I mean? I have a neighbor. He used to live in Venezuela selling juices, and he said with the money that he was making, he did not allow his woman to work. She was just staying at home. You know what I mean? And that's the same reason why these women that were coming here, to sell those type of service, because back at home they weren't doing anything, but just receiving money from the men and cooking, being a housekeeping, cleaning the house and stuff like that. But don't hope that Venezuela is gonna be an open sky, like out the service for both, that they just can go and do what they want. Other thing, listen, in the Venezuelan culture, not all Venezuelans, don't get me wrong, but in the Venezuelan cultures, all the president that they've been having in these 25 years, they've been teaching them, or they've been expressing them how they feel about the United States, how they felt, with them, like trying to like put the power in a lot of countries. So don't think like Venezuelans should be super friendly like Colombians with Americans. And even I think like a lot of Colombians, many Colombians, are rude with our tourism, with our tourists, and with Americans too. So don't think like these people over there, they're gonna be super friendly, because still, even Maduro is a dictator. Even he got arrested, and many other craziness about him, because I don't like this guy for real. But there is some people who still love the president. They still like the president, because he was doing the small little things with them. So don't think like you can. I'm not saying like you need to hire like 100 bodyguards or something, but it won't be like here. You know what I mean? And majority of these people who were getting the scope, that they were getting like delete, and many other questionnaires. Majority of these cases, Venezuelans were involved. And don't get off on your shirt now and told me like, oh, you guys always blaming Venezuelans, but I mean the number says that they were committing. Some of them were doing a lot of craziness here, and they will flew the country. They will go to Venezuela, and how they're gonna get arrested? You know what I mean? Imagine being there. And now that the United States is saying that they're gonna manage Venezuela, it gotta be more. People gotta be more be careful if you are an American citizens, because the guys over there in Venezuela, they will feel more safe if they have a Venezuelan government, because they can move freely. But every American that they will see on neighbors, in the neighborhoods or on the squares, they will wonder who that person is. You know what I mean? Because they never know when they're gonna get caught. and they will see American as a like as an enemy for them. You know what I mean? Including you if you are American. You know what I mean? So don't think and don't feel that this gonna be like the next destination super top. For those type of service. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that you shouldn't go to Venezuela. You should go if you had the opportunity to go. It's a beautiful country. I've never been there, but I got told by my grandma that it's beautiful. They have a lot of beautiful islands, but that's it. Like, don't believe. I don't know why. Like, and this is like one of the reasons why a lot of locals get mad with some tourism, because they see our countries like, oh, that's just destination for other service, which is ain't like that. We know what's up, so you don't have to be like reminded the time like, oh, you guys are only good for this. Like, no. Like I said, that's the reason why a lot of locals feel some type of way with some type of tourism. You know what I mean? So, long story short, don't be thinking like all this Latin country, they be like other service destination just because we are third world countries. Ain't like that, and ain't gonna be like that. You know what I mean? So, Venezuela, I hope they can recover. I hope they can do great things. But don't, as an American and as a foreigner, don't think like that's how it's gonna be. Like Venezuela is gonna be at the top. All of that. I'm sure, like, if they send them on the tourism that is traveling to Colombia, let's say Venezuela gets better tomorrow, flights, all of the stuff. If they send them on the tourism that we're traveling to Colombia, we're traveling to Venezuela, and they will know Spanish speaker, they will have more victims of deleting, they scoping you and all this craziness, because they just operate different. I was reading once that these Venezuelan gang members, they were way more aggressive than Colombians, and that's the truth. That's the reality. Venezuelans don't play games. Venezuela is on another level. Venezuela is not a school for clumps, for clumsy ones. Venezuela is not a kindergarten for stupid guys. So don't be naive and think that everything's gonna be fine because my country is managing this country, but they can put a bodyguard to all the travelers from the United States that are gonna go to Venezuela. You're gonna submit the ground and experience that for yourself. Fellas, thank you so much. Thanks for everything. I want to clarify all of that because there is a lot of brothers who are wondering what happened. I'm pretty sure that a lot of these women, they're going to go home. I just don't know how many. And I just don't know if the ones you're dating, she's going to be part of that plane that is going to head out to Caracas or to Maracaibo, Venezuela in the next few months. I don't know. And you got to see the reality about if that woman was with you, for love, or if you were just a pillow for her to lay down. So, fellas, see you soon, guys, on the next video. This was Carlos, the Colombian guy. And that's it. That's it.